Hello, and welcome to myfinanceteacher.org. Let's have a look at cryptos today. Bitcoin is approaching a cycle low, which will be at least a short-term buying opportunity, if not a longer-term nice entry point. Looking at the Bitcoin cycle, the cycle is now 62 days old, and usually the Bitcoin cycles last for around a couple of months. So based on the usual duration of these cycles, I think we're approaching a cycle low, which means a bounce out of that low into the new cycle is perhaps upcoming relatively soon. The Bollinger Bands have narrowed over the last couple of weeks, and usually narrow Bollinger Bands forecast some sort of a violent move either to the upside or to the downside. And given that the cycle is old, of course, one would expect that the violent move down into the cycle low is more likely than any kind of violent move up. And looking at the last couple of red candles, looks like we are going to experience that violent move down. How low is Bitcoin likely to go? Perhaps somewhere around 25, 26,000 would be enough to scare people enough into creating that cycle low. What's going to happen in the following bounce into the new cycle? Are we going to see significantly higher prices reaching 40,000 and higher? That still remains to be seen. We might discuss that over the next couple of weeks. But in the next few days, I am expecting to increase my allocation in cryptos and hold that large allocation at least over the short term. Perhaps I will try to reduce that position again once Bitcoin, say, pokes above its 50-day moving average. Talking about my positions right now, I'm still holding around, if memory serves correctly, perhaps around 13-14% allocation to cryptocurrencies. As I mentioned to the members at My Finance Teacher, that was quite a few weeks ago. I was expecting Bitcoin to bounce a little bit harder into mid-June. I was expecting Bitcoin to retest some of its previous lows. That would be somewhere around $46,000, $47,000. And that's when I was expecting to see the cycle top for the ongoing cycle. And again, as I mentioned to the members, that's when I was expecting to reduce my allocation to cryptos from that 13-14% to a lower allocation. Unfortunately, Bitcoin didn't actually bounce up to 46, 47,000, so I didn't actually have a chance to reduce my allocations on a bounce. And the current allocation is slightly more than half than I would generally allow in my portfolio, which has a quarter, 25%, set aside for crypto positions. Looking at the 14-day RSI, it is getting close to oversold. It's still not oversold yet, so perhaps another few days will show us this violent move that the narrow Bollinger Bands had been so far forecasting. And usually getting into Bitcoin when RSI is oversold is a pretty good strategy. Let's have a look at some other interesting indicators. This crypto fear and greed index is kind of flatlining over the last few weeks. But for us to see this proverbial blood on the streets that come with cycle lows, that come with attractive buying opportunities, perhaps I would like to see this crypto fear and greed index drop again, maybe down to that level of 10 that has been the low so far on the fear and greed index during this cycle, or perhaps even a bit below 10 over the next few days, maybe a couple of weeks. Next, moving on to Bitcoin Optimism Index, which is also, I think, going to indicate a nice entry point perhaps over the next few days, a couple of weeks. While the Optimism Index itself is already below the level of 20, which is usually a good enough of an entry on Bitcoin. Perhaps with the more recent waterfall in cryptos, a more significant drop in optimism would be a bit of a safer play over here. So looking at the 10-day moving average of the optimism index, usually we see that once 10-day is somewhere close to this level of 40, that indicates a cycle low for Bitcoin. But the previous cycle low with this waterfall decline brought the 10-day moving average closer to the level of 20. At the moment, the 10 DMA is around 34, so perhaps another few days of fear on the market, of pessimism on the market might bring this 10-day moving average closer to that level of 30 or lower. And that's when I would really like to increase my crypto allocations, at least for a short-term trade. And that's actually all for this brief crypto update. I wish you a pleasant Tuesday and Good luck in your trades.